Today we're going to be discussing mass evocation. What is mass evocation? And what's the importance of it? I'm sure everyone has been paying close attention to what's going on out there regarding the spirit realm. And what I mean by that is these new stories coming out about temples and arks, old pagan idols being built around the world. You have some schools of thought that are claiming these things have some type of spiritual power, and then you have other schools of thought that don't think they mean much of anything at all and have little significance to our experience in society and lives. Both sides have their points, but one side is very mistaken in their ideas. And we're going to get into that. We're going to break it down and try to uncover what's the real purpose behind these structures being placed all around the world. I know there was a big deal going on about this temple of Baal, many different pronunciations for it. And suddenly it was changed. It was postponed or thrown out altogether, apparently. And this new Temple of the Ark, I believe it's called, has been erected. I've seen there was one in London. And the New York structure has been postponed, I believe. There's a lot of stories on this. And it's hard to tell which ones are actually factual and true, and which ones are twisting truth or giving falsified information altogether. That's just the world we live in of news. It's all trickery at the end of the day, but we must pay attention to it all, the real and the fake, because they all have hidden esoteric meanings behind them. And that's what's important, seeing what is behind the veil, not what's being put in front of you. So let's look into this. We've been hearing a lot about this, and everyone's coming out with videos and putting their 2 cents on it, and it's cool. Everyone's really getting out there and speaking up about this, and I appreciate it, and I'm happy to see this dialogue going on, because this is a very serious issue. It's very, very serious, and it might not seem serious to the layman or to the sleep, but to those that are awake, to those in the truth, and especially to those in the Holy Spirit, we're very familiar with exactly what this is. But the depth of it may still be hidden from most of us. And that's what I'm going to try to get into today. And the depth is the idea of a mass evocation. A mass evocation is basically the summoning of spirits, a demon, a god, or multiple gods, legions of demons. Now, before we get into what a mass evocation is, let's break down what single evocations are, and there's also invocations. So there's evocations and invocations. Okay, and before we get into those, let's get into a term called theurgy. Theurgy is what is used to invoke and evoke. So what's theurgy? Theurgy is the practice or ritual that seeks to invoke or evoke one or more gods, better known as demonic spirits. Let's be real here. The only spirits that can be channeled or summoned are demonic. Period. Anyone channeling, anyone contacting, whatever you're contacting or channeling, it is a demonic spirit. Why? Because the Most High God, the Creator, our Creator, is against all forms of witchcraft, magic, divination, idolatry, and sorcery, and secrecy. Okay, we could refer to the scriptures to break this down. We got Deuteronomy 18, Ephesians 5 and 6, and Isaiah 29 and 15 for a little reference. The Most High does not play with any of this kind of activity. You can't summon the Most High. Okay, you can't channel the Most High. The Most High's angels. You can't channel them. You cannot contact them. Okay? It doesn't work that way. Now, theurgy is the practice or ritual that seeks to invoke or evoke one or more gods. Invocation. Let's start with invocation. What's invocation? Is to call in. It's a form of possession. A person's personality is replaced by another. Behavior change happens. Okay? It is to draw a spirit within one's body. This reminds me of altars. Multiple personality disorder. They call it DID now. MK Ultra. Or even when one blacks out. What do you become when you no longer are conscious and are acting? Or should I say, your personality is no longer conscious, but a different one is, without you knowing. What is that exactly? Okay, this is very similar. Also, we understand with these changes of personality, there's a change of mood. There's also sometimes increased sexuality, increased anger, increased depression. This has to do with drugs. And drugs are a big part of invocation and evocation. And we'll get into that in a second. But we're just covering a little bit of this to begin. So invocation, it's a possession. It's channeling. All right. We can give some examples of invocation. Some good examples are people who practice invocation. We could look back at the famous Babylon working of 1946 with Ron L. Hubbard and Jack Parsons. Ron L. Hubbard, of course, the founder of Scientology, and Jack Parsons, the wizard behind NASA and the American space program. He built the rockets. He pretty much was the pioneer of our entire space organization. Both Satanists, both occultic wizards, witches, okay? They did the conjuring of Marjorie Cameron, who's an occultist actress who also has ties to Kenneth Anger, a producer and director of old Hollywood that I've mentioned in past videos. Also an occultist, a Satanist, all right, Luciferian. They used Marjorie Cameron as an invocation subject to summon the whore of Babylon. This was their plan, at least. And they used the art of theurgy and invocation to do so. Another example was done by the infamous Aleister Crowley. I'm sure everyone's very familiar with him, and if you're not, you need to understand the level of witchery in this man and his influence he's had on our nation, our society, and all the powerful people that influence it and run it. They literally live from his books. We could look at Aleister Crowley's Scarlet Woman projects, which were all invocation projects. All right. Another way to look at invocation is in Hollywood actors and musicians. Beyonce, for instance, there's a very famous interview of her explaining exactly how this happens, how she feels the spirit come down into her and take her over, and she literally becomes something else. This stuff isn't a joke. This stuff is real. This is spirit possession. Okay, and invocation is just one end of it. We could look at Denzel Washington. He has an interview where he explains pretty much the same thing when he's speaking on Training Day, and how he had to literally invoke and channel a spirit to do so well. He completely admits that he could not have done that by himself. They're not afraid to admit this stuff because it's the truth. And not only is it the truth, they know you don't know anything about invocation. They know you don't know anything about the spirit realm. Well, they assume. So it's nothing for them to come out with it. They play on our ignorance. They play on the programming that they know we are all under. They are drivers in the system of the programming. So we understand their confidence. Another famous old Hollywood actress, Marlene Dietrich, who was a Satanist, a Luciferian, and channeler, who also invoked spirits. Even Lucille Ball, might be surprised, was an invoker of spirits and Satanist. Many, 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 and most Hollywood stars are. Another form of invocation is, and this might upset some people, but yoga and meditation. You know, we have to understand where these things come from. And you have a lot of New Agers out here who don't want to admit that they're New Agers, but don't understand what being a New Ager is to begin with. But they say, oh, as long as you're focusing on positive things when you're doing yoga or meditation, you can't be invoked by negative spirits. There are only negative spirits. There are no positive spirits that you can invoke. See, Satan, Lucifer, he disguises himself as an angel of light. Okay, there is Lucifer and there is Satan. He plays both ends, black and white. Okay, so we have to remember, he is a trickster. He is manipulative. He will show you the good. And with the underhand, the left hand feeds you the bad. He is very manipulative and he plays both ends. The black witch, the white witch. Okay. Black magic, white magic, they all come from the same sorcerer. And the Most High is against sorcery of all kinds, black or white. Be very, very keen on this and understand that those people who try to claim that these things are safe have a dog in the race. Okay, they have their own pride involved, because they've been practicing something for so long and they don't want to admit that these things can possibly be tainted. And maybe they've experienced nothing but positive outcomes from these things. But again, Satan, he definitely has his trickery and does disguise himself as an angel of light and will give you joy, will give you euphoria, will do things that do feel good. Also, we can look at how yoga has become so popular. I mean, it's huge, and everyone's getting into it. It's become a style. It's become this new movement that's kind of taking over. It's even become almost a fad, you know, and it's very empty because a lot of these people do it for prideful reasons, to feel like because they do yoga they are part of something. It's all mind control. Little do they know or understand that this is a form of invocation. And when you can get a large mass group of people doing this kind of practice, it becomes a very powerful invoking activity that the demonic spirits love. And it's promoted all over. You could look in the entertainment industry with acting, for instance. It's encouraged and practiced heavily to get in character. In the government, they have actually, I believe at United Nations, they have their own meditating room with all types of Luciferian and satanic symbolism all throughout it. It's very interesting. And another form of invocation is New Age mysticism. All right, which is all this New Age hippie spirituality you see out there now, with channeling and becoming oneness. Oneness is a big part of this. It's called Henosis, Henosis. This oneness that is taught, and it is a part of witchcraft. It's nothing good. It's nothing positive. It's nothing related to the Most High God. And things and invocations are done to perfect oneself, or to enlighten oneself, or to give oneself power to accomplish something, like act. Yeah, so you have this New Age mysticism. It's basically a mix of witchcraft, Eastern Hinduism, and pagan pantheism, all mixed together. All right, it's a man-made, satanic, Luciferian type of program, basically, because that's all it is. It's literally a program, and it's you know, so you can see it as the stoner culture, hipster spirituality, you could call it. Some people actually call it that. It's a trap. It's all a trap, and they all are forms of invocation. Invocation is possession of oneself or channeling, calling a spirit in, taking on a spirit, drawing a spirit within one's body. That's invocation, one part of theurgy. Now, the other side is evocation. All right, before we get into the main topic here, mass evocation, we're going to talk about a type of single evocation. Evocation has to do with calling forth a spirit. All right. And why would one evoke a spirit? Why? Just like one would invoke a spirit to perfect oneself or reach enlightenment, or gain some type of power to fulfill some type of act, one would evoke a spirit to summon a demon to do the bidding of the sorcerer, or to grant wishes. Okay, we could look at all the genie in the bottle stories, that come from the jinn, which are demons. It all ties in together. Every culture has their own story, their own tale that comes right back to the same thing, in the same place, and the same being, Satan. So demons are summoned to do the bidding of the sorcerer, grant wishes, or perform some type of unnatural act, as you see with magicians. Okay, they call forth and they summon demons to help them perform these type of acts. And they could never perform these type of acts without the help of spiritual demons. And this is done by the magi, or the magi, or the witch, a wizard, a shaman. Okay, these are the types of individuals that perform evocation, summoning a spirit or multiple spirits, or legion of demons. And it is to call forth the spirit when evoking spirits. And this is materializing a demon before the sorcerer. So you materialize the demon before you. We could look at shamanism, which is I'd say the indigenous practice of evocation. And they also practice invocation, but evocation seems to be more common. And a shaman is the intermediary between the human and spirit realms. The witch doctor. Okay, this is all pagan. This is, a lot of people, they hold on and are proud of these things because they feel it's part of their culture, their culture. Let's remember that culture is a great way to manipulate and pigeonhole and tie people into a form of belief system, or ideology, or ritualistic practices based on pride of culture, because culture is related to their identities. And when your culture is related to your identity, it becomes something very strong, and something that is very hard to break, and it builds not only the pride but stubbornness within the individual. Say your culture is very unhealthy for you, like say the diet of your culture is very unhealthy. People will not stop pursuing that diet because their pride of their culture. All right, and this destroys people. Hosea 4:6 tells us, my people are destroyed or perish for lack of knowledge, and that's lack of spiritual knowledge, not scientific knowledge, not knowledge of man, spiritual knowledge that you only can get from the Most High's word. So shamanism, they are related to, or they are sorcerers that practice sorcery. What sorcery? Sorcery is simple. It's a practice of witchcraft, or the use of pharmakia. Pharmakia is drugs, plants, roots, medicines used to contact the supernatural and control the natural world. Okay, so it could be something as simple as LSD or alcohol, which are forms of pharmakia, or something as complex as a witch's brew, or some long drawn out potion in a voodoo curse, or Shango, things like this. We can look at, so the shamans were some of the most ancient forms or indigenous forms of the sorcerer. But we can look at the more Western origins. We can look at the individual Dr. John Dee. I'm sure many people are familiar with. He was a mathematician and a magician, and he worked under Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth I. He has a very long, drawn out history. We can go into that a little later, but he is one of the premier witches and warlocks of occult history. And he was actually, interesting enough, he was inspired by Hindu mysticism. What's so interesting about this is, this is pretty clear on what Hindu mysticism and Eastern mysticism is all about. It is just another leg of Satan. And some of the most original Western cultures got their occultic ideals and practices from Eastern religions, as well as Egypt, of course. It's all handed down. And it all comes from the same source. All these things come back to the same source, period. Back to John Dee. He practiced evocation with the art of scrying. Okay, and scrying is the use of a crystal ball. And the funny thing is, as children, we've seen this woman before a crystal ball. Usually it's played by a woman before a crystal ball, doing different types of chants and magical rituals and seeing the future, seeing things in the crystal ball. This has become normalized for us. And we've never really been taught that this is actually called scrying, which is a form of evocation, which has to do with nothing but evoking demonic spirits, the use of witchcraft. It's also called crystalmancy, which is, relates to the use of black mirrors and mirrors in general, which goes way back to the beginning, to the Canaanites. All right, they all practiced this use of black mirrors to evoke spirits. So John Dee was a big figure in this, and we could even go before him. We could go back to Simon Magus, who I've talked about before. You could learn about him in the book of Acts, and even King Solomon, of course, which a great deal of the witches today and even of the past were inspired by, from the Kabbalah to pretty much everything that you see in the occult has traces from the Lesser Keys of Solomon, or the Goetia. You could find all this information in 72 Demons of Solomon. Okay, these are the spirits that are being summoned by these witches. And King Solomon had a huge influence on this. He was one of the first practitioners of the art, one of the earliest at least, and just one that we've read about. I'm sure there are thousands that we've never discovered or read about that have done this practice. This is Satan's world, so we understand his children are everywhere practicing and being very successful at it on top. So evocation is achieved through several things. One of the main forms of achieving an evocation is through blood sacrifice. Okay, we see that heavily in Hollywood, all right, in entertainment. For instance, the recent sacrifice of Prince in China were huge blood sacrifices that will add to the evocation of this current Beltane time period we're in right now. These are keys, so you need the keys to open the gateways. Different types of keys are blood sacrifices, the building of portals, okay, gateways. All right, portals having to do with opening up the spirit realm to meet ours. And different keys are drugs. Drugs are a type of key, a gateway to the spirit realm. Unlawful sex, which has to do with sodomy and sex outside of marriage, and all-out wickedness of all forms are keys to opening up gateways. The main one I would say is focus faith. Focus faith. What is focus faith? Focus faith has to do with faith being focused on a particular item, idol, or individual, or structure. It has to do with the focusing and the narrowing of energy. Okay, this has to do with idolatry. This creates power for the demon realm. So if you build a structure that is focused on by enough people, it will build energy from that focus on that structure. Okay. Now this brings us right into our mass evocation. But mass evocation has to do with the focus faith. And a lot of focus faith can be done indirectly. And let's get into that. So first off, what is mass evocation? The mass evocation is the activation of multiple keys to unleash a specific god or legion of demons. Okay, so we understand that the biggest god that they're worshiping is Isis, Gaia, okay, Diana, Semiramis. All these are the same spirit. All right. Could they be possibly trying to evoke Isis? We see by the use of the name for government-created boogeymen being used in everyone's mouth is a type of faith focus or focus faith. Just the use of the name constantly, putting it out there, creates an energy. The acceptance of the name, the acceptance of it being used or of it being real, builds a type of spiritual energy that is undetectable, but there. The activation of multiple keys. So we had mentioned before that evocation keys have to do with drugs or sin, wickedness, focus, faith, and portals, gateways, idols, pagan structures, like arcs, like temples, shrines. Shrines are a big one. Shrines gain crazy focus faith. You get enough people before a shrine, even just admiring it builds focus faith. This is why the Most High is so against idols, because it builds energy for the demonic spirit realm. It feeds them. Okay, and these things can be done indirectly with comedians, or not comedians, but celebrities. All right, with celebrities and superstars who are idolized. Focus faith is placed upon these people. What happens when these people are demons? Beyonce, for instance, clearly a Jezebel demon spirit running through the veins of that woman. I mean, it's pretty clear. So you have a Jezebel spirit on stage with thousands of people in a crowd just revering her. This is focus faith given directly to the demon, not the Most High. Those thousands of people in that crowd could care less about the Most High and clearly have no thought of the Most High in their minds at all during that time. This feeds the spirits, okay? This is mass, or this is focus faith. And this has crazy power. And this is a big part of mass evocation. And this is why the building of these structures, these temples of Baal, temple of the Ark, or whatever you want to call it, because they're all the same. They all produce the same evocation. It doesn't matter what the name is. It doesn't even matter its location. If it comes from a type of pagan source, it's feeding the same demon. So a mass evocation is the activation of multiple keys at once to unleash a specific god or legion of demons. The keys are drugs. Now this is deep, guys, because drugs are gateways to the spirit realm. Drugs are used to chemically assist humans to make contact with the spirit world. So we understand drugs having chemical reactions. But see, psychology and brain science has been created to give tangible terms to what is actually spiritual. And many might not understand that. I hope those that do can get a clear grasp on this, because it's very important to understand that what we're taught through books, what we're taught through school, are blanket terms and easy to understand ways created for us to make sense out of things. Because when you do the research, most of these things have holes in them and they're just not complete because they can't explain everything. And we're going to get into that. But drugs is the first key of a mass evocation. Keep people drugged up. Keep people intoxicated, inebriated, stoned, high. These open you up to the spirit realm. If we remember in invocation, to call in a spirit is when your personality is replaced by another. Your behavior changes. Now, this same thing happens when you're inebriated, or when you are intoxicated, or when you are high. Many people turn into completely different individuals when they're, on drugs. Someone could be drunk and, I've had friends that get drunk and you don't even know who they are after they have a couple shots. You're just like, wow, what happened to this person? There's a reason they call alcohol spirits. Okay? These aren't just terms. It's much deeper than that. But these things aren't taught on purpose. So first we have drugs, then we have rituals, and this has to do with focus faith. The rituals are deep because we live amongst daily rituals through the media, and that's the purpose behind the mass media. Is not only to change you and control you, but to manipulate you to evoke the spirits at the same time. So we have large mass media rituals. One of the biggest ones is movies. That's one of my main topics on this channel, is because film has such a heavy influence on the culture, and it is a gateway to the spirit realm. A good example of this is that new movie The Witch, which is an evoking film. And it's nothing more. It is a black awakening, an evoking film. Alright, so movies, we have music. Of course, we're familiar with the music, the demonic, satanic music that's being brought out today. It is evoking spirits through your acceptance, through your focused faith. Concerts, big, massive occasions happen at concerts. An example of this, and it's been said before, when DayZ is at a concert and he has everyone throw up the supposed diamond, or whatever they call it. We know what that is. That's evoking spirits. When you get thousands of people to do that symbolism at the same time, that is an evocation. Videos, music videos, same thing. Focus faith. This is done in television and video games. Video games are big on this. It's not only predictive programming and mind control, but it is also a form of evocation through your focused faith, through your acceptance. Remember, we have to accept Satan's world. We have to become part of it. We have to participate in it. We have to become members. All right, sporting events. A lot of people talk about the halftime shows, yes, but they don't mention. Some do, but mainly and moreover, these things are mass evocations. Halftime shows, symbolism within them, and the thousands and thousands of people that focus their faith on that moment produces power and energy for these spirits. It's interesting how Beyonce came out with this Lemonade album on the heel of Prince's death. This has to do with the energy produced by his death and the focused faith that was gained by her when she dropped this album. It's sick and twisted, but it's occultic power here that these people are working with. They're witches, and they know what they're doing. Beyonce isn't Beyonce. She's been gone for a long time. There's a spirit living within that woman, controlling her. And most artists and actors and entertainers that we see. So, sporting events, halftime shows, graven images. This is why the Most High was against graven images, because of focused faith. People tattoo images on their bodies. That's focused faith. Shrines. People have shrines of individuals and stars on their walls. which are just demons on your walls. These are focused faith producing shrines, icons, idols, American Idol. All these things have to do with evocation. Idols and structures, temples. All right, these kind of things, they all are related. They all are keys to the gateways of mass evocation. And lastly, we have willing subjects, okay, or programmed subjects. So you got people out there that are down with all of this and don't care anything about it, or actually some of these new age and right out Satanists that, you know, think this is cool. You know, pagan people that actually are proud of paganism. These are willing subjects. And then you got the programmed subjects who have just been programmed to believe there's no such thing as the devil, or there's no such thing as the spirit realm. These type of people are used to produce focused faith and acceptance, which is all part of the keys to the mass evocation. This is done through media programming, mind control, and new age movements, like what we mentioned earlier: yoga, meditation, spirituality, the third eye, pineal gland, all that crap, all that whole movement going on. People thinking that they're God's within you, oneness with the world. That's nothing but hypnosis, which is an old witchcraft term. But you know, you've been taught different. You haven't been taught what these things really mean. And that's why we get together and we try to speak on these things, so we can edify each other and grow spiritually through the Holy Spirit and nothing else. So willing subjects and programmed subjects are created through things like entertainment, lust, and depression, you know, that are produced through the entertainment and through the media. These kind of things create a spiritual climate for the demons to produce, you know, huge legions and successfully control the world around us. And also, drugs also are used in invocation and evocation. Basically, drugs in general are gateways, period, and they always have been. You can look at any famous witch and you will see drugs used. Aleister Crowley is a great example of this. Not only did he use drugs as portals, but he also used anal sex. Okay, anal sex is a gateway to demonic activity. A lot of people want to talk about homosexuality and this and that. Look, do what you want. Whether I'm against it or not, that doesn't matter. But anal sex is a portal and a pathway, a gateway for demonic spirits. That's the importance here. Not what your sexual preference is. I don't care what you want to do. But if you letting demons into this world, I got a problem with that. Letting demons into yourself. Homosexuality is a demon. Period. It's not a psychological disorder. It's a demon spirit. A lust spirit. A spirit of confusion. And the Most High is not the author of confusion. That's why when you follow him and his word through his son Jesus Christ, we're safe, we're good. We don't have these issues. We are delivered. This is important. Drugs and alcohol are gateways, spirits. They keep you in the flesh, attached to your senses. When you're high, when you're drunk, you are attached to your senses, stuck in your flesh. You cannot see outside of those senses. Some drugs used to open gateways into the spirit realm or establish contact with demons is LSD. And we could look at the whole MK Ultra connection with LSD. All right, people out here are doing this drug like it's cool, and they have no idea. And even those that do know it's connected to MK Ultra, they don't care. And it's sad. But it's the truth. And we have peyote, which was used by pagan tribes all over the world. Mescaline is the chemical within peyote that is the gateway that does open one up to spirit activity, demonic spirit activity. and amphetamines, which produces lust demons, sexuality, violence, and depression. All of these things. It all originates in pharmakia. All right, pharmakia, which not only is a demon, but is where the word pharmaceutical comes from. A large population of the country is on mood-enhancing drugs, okay? I think they even said 70% of people are medicated right now, whether it be psychiatric drugs or pain relief. Okay, people are drugged up. And when drugs are a gateway to the spirit realm, what does that tell you? How much power do these demons really have now? Now imagine if they build a structure, a gateway, a portal, an ark of some sort, and have 70% of the population on a gateway opening drug. And at the same time are practicing rituals through the media with symbolism and gaining focus faith by large numbers. This is mass evocation. There's purpose behind all of this. It's not to get your money. It's not to keep you entertained. Yes, it's to control you. Yes, it's to change you. But it's also to evoke demons and spirits, the fallen, that are going to return, that have already returned and are here now. They're just coming in day by day, more and more. And they are taking over people's bodies. Evocation and invocation is happening simultaneously. You know, drugs are known to get you in the mood. Moods are types of spirits, a behavior change, a personality change. Why do you think you change when you take drugs or when you get intoxicated? What changes you? The chemical? See, psychology and brain science, they're merely technical ways or secular terms used to describe spiritual activity within human bodies. That's it. The brain and consciousness, the function of brain and consciousness is still a huge mystery. It's a huge mystery in modern science. Still to this day, the brain and the idea of consciousness, it's a mystery. They still don't understand it, but they try to make up terms and make up all of this stuff to make sense out of it. But they can't, because it's a spiritual activity. All right, knowledge of man or science cannot explain or understand the workings of the Most High. We can look at Ecclesiastes 11, 4 through 5 for that. We'll never understand this, and we can't try to make sense of it because it's beyond us. The ways of God are beyond the ways of man. Okay. But science, which is the art of Satan, tries to make sense of it all and tries to define things for us, but they are misinformed and misguided. So all of these things are used to perform the mass evocation. So I hope I've gotten down to the crux of this idea. And though it's not really brought out much, I think it's important to understand what these Temple, Baal, and Temple of the Ark, what these things are being built for. And what's the true purpose behind them. I hope I've made it easy to understand. I know I kind of ran through it. Maybe I'll do more work on it and do some more videos on it to be a little more clear on certain specific parts. But it's just something that needs to get out. People need to understand what this is really, really about to do and what it's doing now. There's enough going on. Just wait till they start building these things all over the world. The demonic activity is going to skyrocket. And this place is going to be more crazy and hectic and chaotic than it's ever been. You think it's bad now. It's only going to get worse. Until the Most High brings his son down to just finish it. Finish it. But until then, I say God bless, and I appreciate y'all for listening, and stay strong in prayer. That's our only defense against this. Just as they're doing mass evocation, we need to do mass prayer. if enough of us are praying together, will produce the Holy Spirit that will combat this demonic spirit. Fight spirit with spirit. And as always, I say all praises to the Most High for giving us the opportunity to gain this knowledge through the Word. Give us the opportunity to share and help each other grow spiritually and defeat this system and bring Satan down to his knees once and for all. All praises to the Most High in Jesus' name. I wish you all the best, and I thank you for listening. God bless. Shalom.